Welcome back to the Gaming Coffee Club, episode number 9. Today's show is stacked. We are diving into a ton of PlayStation hardware news, fresh game announcements, and some updates on massive PlayStation franchises making the jump to TV and film. We are also getting into a really interesting conversation about why older video games might actually be better for you than modern ones. And a quick heads up before we get into it, the Gaming Coffee Club Midnight Edition mug is still live at the launch price, but that ends in around 24 hours from when this episode goes live. If you've been thinking about grabbing one now, is the perfect window to grab one at a good price. Now, let's grab your coffee and get into the news. For our first piece of hardware news, we're talking about PS5 Pro and a huge update which is supposedly on the way for it in 2026, which will make it even better for running your demanding AAA titles. So this is over at thegamepost.com, and we all know Sony has been tweaking and improving and basically testing things, it seems like, on the PlayStation 5 Pro. I think the PS5 Pro seems like a bit of a test bed for the PS6 and PS6 Handheld, which we will discuss later on in the episode. In particular, PSSR, which is, I think I'll get this right, PlayStation's Super Spectral Resolution. So it's their version of AI image upscaling, so they can use their hardware to upscale games which are running at a lower resolution natively. So the game might be running at like 1080p or 1440p, and then it upscales it to 4K, so we see it at 4K on our 4K TVs. However, Moore's Law is Dead, who is basically a well-known leaker in this space, has been talking to I'm totally tongue twisted here. An anonymous developer who has been letting us all know what fans can expect from future updates. Now, Moore's Law is Dead during his video said, I have a few PSSR updates for you. There's an application called PSML Replay that Sony has given us for debugging glitches that pop up from PSSR. So this is what the game dev has told Moore's Law is Dead. So Sony is aware that there are multiple big releases that have PSSR artifacting issues. That's where when the things get upscaled, it looks all jaggy and it just doesn't look nice. You may have seen it on some games. And Sony is working on this to improve this. In fact, the developer says, by now, Sony has more tools for PSSR than AMD does for FSR3 or FSR4. So that's Fidelity Super Resolution. That is AMD's version of upscaling. The dev went on to say something called Multi-Frame Super Resolution 2 or MFSR2 is now referenced in some documents we have access to. Internally, PSSR is called MFSR1. So MFSR2 apparently uses an updated algorithm that reduces the need for some pieces of input data, decreases the amount of memory used, and shortens GPU processing times while delivering better image quality. It uses an entirely new API too. This is not some 0.5 upgrade, it is huge. FSR4 and FSR3 continue to be mentioned separately of PSSR. PSSR remains on its own path. So it seems clear that PS5 Pro will get an improved PSSR2 in addition to FSR4 support in 2026. It's a big upgrade and they will reduce how often games have PSSR issues. So what does this mean for us that are not into all the tech specs, that are just thinking, should I care about this? Well, yes. And in particular, one game jumped out to me right away, which I think Sony's hardware may lean heavily on its, AI upscaling to produce the best image quality and the best performance. And that is next year's big game, Grand Theft Auto 6. If this pans out to be really a step up from PSSR1 and, we get FSR4 as well, the PS5 Pro could be the place to play Grand Theft Auto 6. I think it already is because it's the most powerful console out there. It will support it. Who knows when this new Xbox PC will launch. When that launches, unless Xbox do something on the software / hardware front, it won't support GTA 6 because GTA 6 only is coming to console only, which means PS5 and Xbox Series X and, well, I'd assume the Series S. I'd be really interested to see how GTA 6 would run on the Series S, as it really doesn't have a lot of video RAM compared to the other machines. It's definitely not as powerful. It is a really good, powerful little box, but a game like GTA 6 might just push it over the edge. So I'm curious to see what happens there. However, this is good news because it means we will be getting more bang for our buck out of the PS5 Pro. And I know the PS5 Pro, it's a niche product, it's expensive. So £700 I paid for it, and then I paid £100 more for the disc drive. You can get the disc drive a little bit cheaper now, and there's some sales going on for like Black Friday time and for Christmas for the PS5 Pro. However, I think this is becoming a better deal now as we are seeing price increases across the board. Like Xbox has raised the prices big time of a lot of their consoles. We've got this DDR5 RAM shortage issue due to the AI bubble, which is shoving prices up on probably most consumer electronics will be impacted at some point. So I think there might not be a better time than now to jump into the PS5 Pro if you're thinking about for the next couple of years. And with this DDR5 shortage, and who knows when DDR6 arrives down the line, AI will probably hoover that up as well if it's still the main thing, the in thing, the cool trendy thing which is happening in the tech world with all the tech bros. That might really impact PS6 when it launches, as we would imagine PS6 will come with a decent amount of RAM on it. If it's astronomical pricing, Sony might think, what are we going to do here? Do we hold fire till prices hopefully calm down? Because we do know, and we covered this in last week's episode, that PlayStation has bought up just like tons of RAM for their PlayStation 5 consoles just now, so they're able to sustain them at the price they're at. However, I doubt they'll be in that position for PS6. And we also mentioned in that article how Xbox had not planned ahead. So they will probably be getting impacted by this RAM price increase again. So they've already increased their prices of all their consoles. They're probably going to have to do it again. So it's just a wild time in the gaming space. Not good for us gamers because our wallets are just getting smashed. So if GTA 6 ships with PSSR2 support and FSR4 or either or, the PS5 Pro will be primed to take advantage of this. And that means it will be able to produce hopefully higher frame rates, better resolution, all from your PS5 Pro on GTA 6. That's exciting. And if that's the case, the PS5 Pro is going to fly off the shelves even more so than it is right now. I think it's selling pretty well. Sony seem to be happy with it. However, if this is the place to play GTA 6, imagine as well if we get a PS5 Pro bundle with GTA 6 included, it is just going to sell like wild. So if you want to get involved, this might be the time to pick up a PS5 Pro right now, just like I have said. Now we're over at the game business, taking a look at what has been happening this Black Friday in the UK. So we've got some results in for the consoles and for the games. Some of it is quite surprising. So let's dive right in. First off, the UK sales of consoles were better this year during Black Friday than last year's, so than 2024, with revenue up 14% and unit sales up 7%. So Nintendo Switch 2 did okay, the data firm says, but it was the PS5 that was the biggest driver of sales. In fact, the PS5 was the only console to do better this Black Friday than in the previous one. So that's pretty good, given that you'd think more people already have a PS5 and are not upgrading, but that doesn't seem to be the case. With unit sales up 16% over the last year, PS5 had a 62% share of the console market during the week. So over half of all consoles sold during Black Friday were PlayStation 5s. That is absolutely wild. good news for the PlayStation brand. The PS5 Slim 1TB price was 21% lower compared to the 2 weeks previously. PS5 Slim was 34% lower, and the PS5 Pro was down to £586, which is an all-time low. What? Jeez, so that's a lot cheaper than I paid for it. Wow. Anyways, overall, the average price of the PS5 was £340 last week. Only the 7th time it's gone below 400. So that's an absolute bargain. £340 for a PS5. And then Xbox Series S and X accounted for 10% of the market during Black Friday. The average selling price for Xbox machines was $385, which was 8% lower than 2 weeks prior. I would love to see the breakdown of that between Series S and Series X, because Series S has had a price increase, unfortunately. And I do think it's probably more popular than the Series X in a lot of cases, because it is the budget play. It's the entry level Series X. I might be wrong. Let me know if you have either of them or would be interested in any of them. I have both. I initially got a Series S because at launch there's only so much money going about, isn't there? I was getting a PS5 no matter what with a disc drive. I pre-ordered that, and then I thought, I want to get involved in the Xbox ecosystem as well again. I had an Xbox One, which I played a lot, and I got the Series S because it was really cheap at launch. So that was what I thought. I saw PlayStation 5, main machine, Series S, Game Pass machine, and I had a Switch already at that point when these consoles launched in 2020. And then later on I got the Series X because you just need a disc drive. I just don't like not having a disc drive on consoles. And also it meant I could pick up a whole bunch of Xbox 360 games, because the 360 was my favourite Xbox console of all time. Still have some of the games, and they're great prices picking them up on eBay, on charity shops, all these sort of things. You get some absolute banger games. And the backwards compatibility is pretty good, so you can just slam it in your Xbox Series X, and away you go. You can relive your nostalgia or check out these awesome older games you've never played for a bargain price. Nintendo Switch 2 took 23% share of the market during Black Friday, which is a lower share compared to the weeks since launch. However, this is to be expected given the deals on PS5. So there you go. The Switch 2 probably didn't get much of a discount because it is really new. It's only been out for, I think, less than 6 months. So I guess that makes sense. Switch 2's average selling price was $405 during Black Friday. There we go, which was only a slight 3% drop from 2 weeks ago. Finally, Switch 1 took 5% of sales during Black Friday. So the Switch 1 still selling strong as well. It's pretty cool to see. Elsewhere, accessories sales were down sharply, 17% compared to last year. Wow, that's interesting. I wouldn't have expected that. It was due to a sharp drop in joypad sales, so your controller sales, and gaming headsets. Oh, is that VR they mean? Obviously not. VR headsets were still popular over Black Friday, although unit sales were down 7%. Okay, maybe it was VR headsets we're talking about. Meta Quest 3S, I just don't want to talk about that. Like Zuckerberg, come on, Facebook, we don't want to give them any of our money, do we? Now, European top 10 unit sales games over Black Friday week was number 1, EA Sports FC 26, number 2, Hogwarts Legacy. That was on massive discount, so that doesn't surprise me. Although it is in a lot of the subscription services, but good to see people are picking it up. It is good to buy and own your games. Now, this one surprises me. Jeez. Call of Duty Black Ops 7 is at number 3. Is this just one of these things that just people, there's a lot of casual gamers just buy it anyway, no matter what. So new Call of Duty, they just want to pick it up and enjoy it. Maybe. But Black Ops 7 was heavily discounted due to it not being received well. So maybe that has a little bit to play in terms of the results here. If it has been reduced, people think, oh, that's the newest one. It's now down to £40 or whatever, $40. I'll pick it up. Battlefield 6 is still going strong. Number 4, Red Dead Redemption 2. Jeez, it's at number 5, still going strong. That's absolutely wild. It Takes Two. Wow, great collab game there. I've not played that one yet. My mate was telling me about that. That's absolutely fantastic. I'll need to check that out. Also, if you're looking for amazing co-op game, check out their other games. A Way Out is the one I've played, which is just fantastic. And I need to play their most recent one, which has popped right out of my head. Split Fiction, that is the one. GTA 5 still selling like hotcakes after all these years, which How insane is GTA 5, by the way? It launched on PS3 and Xbox 360, and we're here on PS5 and Series X, and it's still selling in the top 10. What? Pokemon Legends ZA on the Switch, NBA 2K26, and F125 round it out. So quite a few sports games in there. Very interesting though, but a strong Black Friday showing from the PlayStation family of consoles over Black Friday here in the UK. I would love to have seen some information on the portal as well, because there's been some wild discounts. Right now it's for sale for like £175, £170, which is the cheapest I've ever seen it for brand new. So I would imagine it's sold pretty well also, especially since the last update where you don't need a PlayStation 5 to actually use the portal to play owned games or games from the cloud. You just need a PS Plus premium subscription. So that would have been interesting to see also. Does this surprise you that PlayStation 5 has been dominating the Black Friday sales? 62% of all sales of consoles has been PlayStation 5 and some of these games. Anything surprises you? Sound off in the comments. I would love to chat to you all. PlayStation 6 handheld news time, people. We're over at thegamepost.com, and this again comes from Moore's Law is Dead, who has just been all over a lot of the leaks. I remember he leaked all the PS5 Pro stuff before it happened, I'm pretty sure, and might have leaked the PlayStation Portal stuff before it happened. So can be hit or miss. Take it with a pinch of salt like all of these leaks, but it is interesting to talk about and speculate. The new PlayStation 6 handheld leak claims Sony needs devs to support the PS5 low power mode. This has just been rolled out quite recently, maybe a month or so ago, to PlayStation 5. There's now a low power mode. I've never tried it. I don't know why anyone would want to. However, it looks like this is their test bed for the PlayStation 6 handheld. By that, I mean, if they can get the PlayStation 5 games running on the PlayStation 5 hardware in this low power mode or low power state, they should be able to get them running at the same level, so resolution, fidelity, whatever, frames per second, on this new PlayStation 6S, as people are calling it, because if it's a handheld, it will have a far less power draw or far less power available to use than, you know, a plugged-in console, which is plugged into your wall. People say, well, wait a minute, this is still too much. However, remember people are saying, sorry, it's still too power hungry, this PS5 low power mode for a handheld. But you need to keep in mind that the PlayStation 6S, this PlayStation 6 handheld, will be running on the newest hardware, which will probably be a lot more efficient and powerful than what we have in the PS5 hardware. So I think it is well achievable. And the article here goes on and says, rumours around Sony's next generation have gone from quiet hints to pretty steady stream over the last few months. We have reports of a PlayStation 6 home console, codenamed Orion, so that will be like our PlayStation 6 console, which will sit under your TV and it will stay in your house and it won't go anywhere. Then we have reports of a native handheld system codenamed Canis, both built around the new AMD Zen 6 architecture. So that's the new Zen 6 CPU and RDNA 5 graphics. See what I mean? The newest, latest and greatest stuff, which should have a lot more, you know, horsepower or AI generated, you know, upscaling abilities than what we have right now. There have been claims about a Switch style docked play, strong ray tracing performance, and even rough price targets for a cheaper PS6S console based on the handheld chip. Now, this is what confuses me. I've spoke about this before on the channel. I don't know if we spoke about this on the podcast, but the way a lot of these leaks are coming out, it makes it sound like there's going to be a PlayStation 6 console, so your home console, sit under your TV, like I said. Then there'll be the PlayStation 6 dedicated handheld, which, you know, will play your games natively, not like the Portal streaming. I'd imagine this will also support streaming, but you will be able to download your games to this PlayStation 6 and then, you know, take it out with you. Also dock it when you get home, and then I would imagine play it on the big screen, just like the Nintendo Switch. Now, this PS6S, which I wrongly attributed to the handheld a moment ago, apologies, sounds like it's going to be another home console which is going to be using the hardware from the handheld. So the description I would give of this is, think of the Series X and Series S. So this is like a PlayStation Series S version. I don't know if that works. I don't think that's a good idea. I think the PlayStation 5 console and the handheld makes sense. But having three machines launch, we had Jim Ryan say previously when Xbox went down that path with the Series X and Series S that, you know, multiple SKUs typically don't work because then you've got developers targeting these different hardware configurations and power levels. And we have seen that kind of pan out with the Series X and S, where some games have not been feature complete and have had features and modes missing on the Series S. I think some games don't have like split screen or something, or they're delayed while the developers are trying to get it working, or the games have just skipped Xbox because they're like, we can't be bothered trying to get it working on the Series S. Whether that's right or wrong, or they're lazy, or it is a valid problem, I don't know. We can all debate that in the comments. However, I don't think that strategy has totally worked out for Microsoft the way they thought it would. Most of the sales of the Series consoles have been the cheaper Series S from the last kind of data I'd seen or speculation on it. So this 3 PlayStation consoles, I don't know if this works. They did go on to say, on top of that, we have an older leak pointing to a full PS4 and PS5 support on the handheld, a 3nm APU, and a design that can hook up to a TV over USB-C. So this is very interesting. We're getting all this stuff starting to kind of leak out. But what has all this got to do with the low power mode? Like I said, Moore's Law is dead. Says he's heard for a game developer working with Sony's tools on PS5. According to him, Sony has been sending out emails that strongly encourage studios to support the console's low power mode directly, along with tutorials and documentation. Put simply, Sony is not just telling devs, turn on a power saving option and cut the frame rate. The push, according to this report, is to keep 60 frames per second and instead reduce resolution and CPU use until the game fits the low power budget. Razer CPU, the internal CPU utility for PS5, is meant to help studios track down heavy CPU threads and trim them. So this looks like they want developers to do this so that then they can move the games from PS5 running in the low power mode onto the new handheld and it'll work fine, or this PlayStation 6S cheaper one as well. I don't see that happening. I think there's been confusion in a lot of these leaks that people have attributed and confused the PS6S with the handheld. I think the handheld, which docks, and the PS6S is the one thing, and then there's the PS5 console on its own. Let me know what you think about that idea. Do you think I'm going down the right path? You hope that's the right path? Or are you like, I'm up for 3 consoles, let me have the choice? Who knows as well, with all these RAM prices going wild, maybe they will want to try and get budget options out there, because maybe the PS6 it's going to be even more expensive than we think. I was hoping it would hit maximum 600. I was hoping it would come in less than the PS5 Pro. I think they would be fly with it though. They would have the console come in at £600 or dollars. It wouldn't have a disc drive. That would be another £100 or $100, add-on. So it would be the exact same price as the PS5 Pro console on its own when the PS6 is like fully loaded with the disc drive. The full quote that Moore's Law is Dead showed on screen was this: "It's becoming glaringly obvious that low power mode is a Trojan horse for getting PS6 handheld support ready before its launch, and they honestly seemed a bit annoyed at how few devs directly support it so far." So here we go. This new PS6 Canis, if it really does ship with 4 Zen 6C big cores for games plus 2 small cores for the system, Sony needs a lot of PS5 titles to already be able to run well on a tighter CPU and power limit. This is all really interesting stuff. We will keep our hands on this. I'm thinking about handheld. Keep our hands on it. We'll keep our eyes on this. So far, here's the kind of rumored specs. So the CPU is 4 times Zen 6C cores, 3 nanometers. The GPU is 12 to 20 RDNA5 compute units at 1.6 to 2 gigahertz. This is the bit that's interesting. 16 gigabytes of LPDDR5X RAM. That could be pricey depending on what's going on with all this RAM pricing in the world. And the estimated power draw is 15 watts thermal to the board. I'm pretty sure that's similar to like the Steam Deck. I think it's 15 watts power draw. And there's a whole bunch of other stuff. You know, display is going to be touch screen, storage options, micro SD, and also an M2 SSD slot. So M2 SSD is what's already in your PlayStation 5 right now. It's going to have backward compatibility with PS5 and PS4 games, with PS5 low power mode for better performance matching. Other hardware here: dual microphones, haptic vibration, USB-C with fast charging, and video output, speculated to allow dock play on TVs. So there we go, people. What do we think about this? Are we interested in the PS5 console? The PS6 console, sorry. We're all interested in the PS5. We've already got one, don't we? The PS6 console, the PS6 handheld, or a PS6S, cheaper, low power, entry level console. I don't know about that. I'm interested in the PS6 console, obviously, and the PS6 dedicated handheld. I would love a dedicated handheld. You just think the love and the care and the attention that Sony puts into the hardware when they build it. Like, if you pick up today in 2025 the original PlayStation Vita, the one with the OLED screen, it is an absolute masterpiece. It's a work of art. You could launch that today, maybe a bit bigger screen, and people would be like, wow, the quality is just top notch. That thing was so far ahead of its time, and it's such a shame that it wasn't, you know, as successful as the PSP. Otherwise, we might still have had a whole bunch of PlayStation handhelds to this day. However, we've got this PS6 handheld to look forward to. I think it's pretty much a lock-in that is going to happen, and that is what Sony is going to do with this. Let me know if you'll be picking up a PS6 handheld in the future. Now we're talking about new hardware here with one of PlayStation's, I guess, biggest and most popular games, most popular free-to-play games, now getting its own dedicated limited edition piece of hardware. Yep, you guessed it. If you are watching this on screen on YouTube or on Spotify, Genshin Impact, very, very popular game, is now getting its own dedicated DualSense controller for the PlayStation 5. And it's appearing right on screen right now if you're watching. It is a kind of cream and gold looking colorway. Limited edition. Availability may vary by country or region. And it is coming to PlayStation 5 very soon. Pre-orders for the controller will open on PlayStation Direct and participating retailers on the 11th of December. So that is a couple of days away this week. If you want to get one of these, get in and pre-order it ASAP before all the scalpers hoover these up. You know they're going to try and do that. It's so annoying. With a 21st of January release date planned for Japan and Asia, and a Western launch will then follow on the 25th of February. Keep in mind, this is not cheap, as these things never are. It's retailing at $85 or £75, but Sony does stress that it is actually limited edition and only limited quantities will be available. So I guess if you're a big Genshin Impact fan or a collector of all the DualSense controllers, I know quite a lot of people do that, this is definitely a collector's piece. It looks pretty cool. It's got quite a nice design to it, I must admit. Especially when you compare to like the God of War one they released recently, which just looked like it had a red stripe on it. It looked so lazy and half-assed. So this is pretty good. A little bit more effort in there. If you're a big fan of the game, well worth picking up. And it actually ties really nicely into our next story, which is about PlayStation 5 controllers getting optimized battery life. And unfortunately, no, not your old controller you already have. New controllers. Yes, that is exactly what is happening. So we've got a tweet over on X, and I will put this on screen right now. And it comes from Modificator Casper. I've probably completely butchered that, but I don't care. And he said, Sony has finally fixed the biggest PS5 flaw. The new DualSense V2 is an absolute game changer. My test, over 15 hours of continuous play with all DualSense features used. Now that is huge. I mean, I reckon you're lucky if you get around about 5 hours with all your features on. DualSense battery life is not the best. So this is a big update. And it's actually a new version. And if you're wondering who this chap is, he's a Polish console modder, so he's well into his controllers. I think he calls himself a controller technician as well. And the new PlayStation Pad, which its code name is CFI-ZCT2W, optimizes performance for longer gaming sessions. So that's over 15 hours, which is really nice. And if you're in the market for one of these new controllers, say you need a new DualSense, the one you've got is ready for the scrap heap, the battery maybe is not holding charge, or you've got stick drift or something, and you're wanting to ensure you get this new controller, you should look out for that product code I just mentioned, which is CFI-ZCT2W on the box. And new pads like the limited edition Genshin Impact controller, which was just announced, which we just spoke about, will also benefit from these improvements. Well, it should anyway. So this seems like it might put to bed the rumours that we had that Sony was looking to release a new PlayStation 5 controller with a removable battery. It seems like it was more so just this one. They were optimizing and tinkering so that you get the 15 hours, you get much better battery life. So that is a really good update. No word on if any stick drift issues have been fixed. I know a lot of people get stick drift on their controllers, which absolutely sucks. Are you excited about this news? Will you be picking up a new DualSense controller? Maybe you game a lot and you're getting fed up charging your controller all the time. This might be a nice fix for you. Now we're hearing from Matt Piscatella, who works at Circana, who has all the kind of sales data and things like that for gaming and other stuff, but he always tweets about gaming, which is what I'm interested in via their Circana retail tracking service. And he's posted this over on Blue Sky, and this is really interesting. It caught my eye because I was like, what? So in the US, the best-selling hardware SKUs for the week ending November 22nd, 2025, ranked on units sold. So number one was the Super Mario Kart, the Mario Kart World Bundle for the Nintendo Switch 2. Number two, well, let's skip number two. Let's go to number three, actually, was the PS5 Digital Slim 1TB. And what was number two, which, beat the PlayStation 5 Slim Digital? It was the Next Playground Interactive Gaming System. If you read this and went, what the hell is that? You're not alone. That's exactly what I thought. So that is this thing here. We've got their website up on screen, and if not, I'll do my best to describe it because it really reminds me of the Xbox Kinect and also the PlayStation iToy, if you remember that from back in the PS2 days. It looks like it's one of these motion controlled type game toys. It doesn't look like a proper console. It looks like it's made for kids. But this thing outsold the PlayStation 5 Slim. So the Next Playground looks like it's mainly aimed at families and kids. It's a whole bunch of mini games you can play on your TV. It does look quite fun, to be honest. But I had never heard of this. I mean, that motion type game there, it reminds you of like Beat Saber a little bit. They're playing basketball and stuff like that. I actually would like to try this to see how well it works. I've no idea how much this thing costs in the UK. In the US, it is $249. I've not actually seen if it is available in the UK. I'm not sure if it is. I think this might only be in the US. If any of you have this or have heard of this, please let me know. But this thing that I'd never heard of sold more units than the PlayStation Slim on Black Friday in the United States. Who would have called that? So let me know if before you'd listened to this podcast or watched this podcast, had you ever heard of this? Let me know, because I'm intrigued to see how many of you have actually ever heard of this little device, which looks quite cool. And if anyone from this company, Next Playground, are watching this, send your boy one. I want to check it out, and I can maybe do a video to how does this compare to the iToy or the Kinect. If I can find my Kinect, I have no idea where the hell my Kinect is. But yeah, who would have thought that? PlayStation beaten out by an unknown device. Well, unknown device to me. Anyways, pretty cool news. Let me know if you've heard of this little device in the comments. Now we've got our Gaming Coffee Club question of the week, where we were discussing the PlayStation 5 is now 5 years old, or 5 years young, I said. How would you rate Sony's PlayStation 5 console? And also drop some comments down below and I'll read some of them out on the podcast, as I love to get all you guys and gals involved in the podcast as well. So 1,700 votes, which is awesome. Thank you for everyone who voted and commented. And with a whopping 73%, I love the PS5. So a lot of you are happy. 22% said it could have been better. And 5% said it's a disappointing console. First off, what do y'all think about that? What's your gut reaction to these poll findings? Sound off in the comments. And let's see what some of the comments said. We need to pick this top one here. We've got Nutmeg saying, it's been a great Blu-ray player. I can count on one hand the number of games I've bought and played specifically for this system. So Nutmeg is not happy with this one. We've got John Henderson saying, my Slim model is banging still. Very, very good. And then we've got Captain America. How you doing, Cap? Loving my PS5 and PS Portal. The PS5 is an excellent console. Amazing. I love this. I love hearing everyone's views here. Let's put it this way. I went from PS4 to Series X. I had a lapse in judgment, corrected it by selling that piece of junk, and got a PS5 now. I'm much happier. So Matthew Long, I'm glad you're happier and you've got your hands on your PS5. We've got Clint here saying, I've been enjoying the PS5 so much. We've got CT334, 10 out of 10. If I could play PS3 games natively, then 11 out of 10. That'd be so cool. I would love if PlayStation would launch, like, they have the perfect opportunity to do this with this detachable hard drive. Imagine they called it the PlayStation Super Drive and it was compatible with every generation of PlayStation disc. Because fun fact, you might not know this, PlayStation 5s do not support CDs. You can't actually put a music CD in your PS5. It won't work. There you go. Every day's a school day. However, a drive like this would be really cool. Imagine you could play PS1, PS2, PS3, 4 and 5 games on your PS5. And obviously, hopefully the hardware would be powerful enough to run the emulation or whatever they had to do. But I would love that. That'd be so cool. Would like to see the library continue to grow of all the games we love. Hopefully can't play them on the Portal too. Agreed. We've got St. Louis here. I don't regret buying one, but definitely hasn't been a magical generation. I probably played more old games than actual PS5 games on it. I kind of get that. I think gaming's in a weird space right now where the generational jumps are small. Like, it's not like what it was back in the day when you had massive difference between, like, think about the jump from PS1 to PS2. You couldn't play PS1 games on your PS2, whereas now there's these really big cross-generation moments where PlayStation 4 games are still being released. Like, the PS5's 5 years old already and the PS4's still going strong. So, yeah, I get that. I do get that. I think that's only going to get worse. I think the next generation, PS5 and even more so PS5 Pro will be supported for a long time. We've got Mike saying, I would say lackluster at best. We've got here, best console. This is Devil Angel. Best console and all OG games brought back in better frames and graphics. Nice. And we've got here one which I really agree with John. It says, I still believe the Pro has so much more potential. The code for its tools are still being made. Well, we just discussed that on the podcast earlier. I 100% agree. Next up, we've got Gundine46 saying, we deserve better. At times, I feel like I'm playing a PS4 Pro with an SSD installed. The new DualSense added new functionality that helped spice up the new gen. I agree with that too. I feel like last gen with the PS4 Pro, they were like, oh, this is the 4K machine. And then we got PS5, and this is the 4K machine. And then we've got the PS5 Pro, this is the 4K machine. Still, none of them are actually really doing 4K native, hardly. So yeah, this to me is just a symptom though of this huge cross-gen period where, you know, there's not such a huge graphical jump. When you do hold some of these games right next to each other, like PS5 and PS5 Pro versions against some PS4 things, they can look a lot better, but it's not that huge wow factor. And we've got more people saying this as well. Best version the PS4 Pro will ever get. And then we've got Svater Dreki. I love it. It's actually innovative, not only in its specs, but also the controller. The controller is actually fantastic. I love it. It truly felt next gen. Unfortunately, this generation, like the one's previous generation, felt more like an experimental one. Less games, more test hardware. I don't necessarily mind that, but hopefully the PS6 will both be innovative and have more games. Heck yeah. That would be good. I love it, but could have been better. More powerful CPU. Yeah, I'd like to see a more powerful CPU, especially in the PS5 Pro. That would have been good. I feel like a lot of the games are CPU limited these days. There's a lot of comments. This could go on for ages going through them all, but a really good mixed bag. Thank you to all of you for replying. The post for this week's question of the week is up, and remember, I'll pick some of them to be shown on the podcast as well. Let me show you that question right now. And here it is. It is, which Dead Racing franchise would you love to see return to PlayStation with a new title? And we've got a poll with new Wipeout, new Burnout, new Ridge Racer, and new Motorstorm. And we've got 2 comments here already. So make sure you all head over to the posts tab on Pure PSX. Leave your comments and get voting, and you have a chance to feature in next week's podcast. And honestly, I just need to say a quick, massive thank you to everyone supporting the Gaming Coffee Club lately. It has been amazing. If you didn't know, we now have channel memberships live for $1.99 a month, which is less than the price of a coffee. Members get behind the scenes posts, early access to some videos, custom emojis, loyalty badges next to their name, and priority replies, and all your emojis and badges next to your names in comments and live streams. And as the membership grows, we'll be unlocking even more perks and emojis along the way too. If you want to support what we're building here, just hit the join button on the channel to see everything that's included. Right, now let's get back into more news. Now we're on to some game news. We've got a bunch of cool game updates here. And first off, we have got Starship Troopers Ultimate Bug War. And if you're a big fan of Starship Troopers, like the movie, you'll recognise the legend on screen right now. Rico, he's now General Johnny Rico. And if you've not seen the movie, go and do yourself a favour and watch it. It is so freaking good. It is basically the inspiration for Helldivers 2. Helldivers 2 is basically Starship Troopers. And we've got this new game which has been announced. So Starship Troopers Ultimate Bug War. Single player first person shooter set within the universe of Starship Troopers. And it's rolling the clock all the way back to 1997 when the movie was out. And it's a retro FPS. The graphics look way better than PS1. It's probably more kind of PS2 style. The game looks a lot of fun. It's got FMV cutscenes. We've got from the main man, General Rico himself. And he's giving you all the commands and things like this. But the game is developed by Oruk Digital, and that is the studio behind Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun, which is another amazing game. If you've not played it, I recommend you do go and check it out. It's the kind of boomer shooter, as they like to call it. So this is a really interesting announcement. Kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting this because there's been a couple of Starship Troopers games recently. And then we've got this one. I think with this having the kind of low poly graphics though, hopefully we can get into some crazy like fights against thousands of bad guys. thousands of these bugs, which could be a lot of fun. Coming early in 1997. So this is coming out early 2026. You can now wishlist it. This is coming to PlayStation 5. I am looking forward to this. And if you are a fan of Helldivers 2, you might really enjoy this also. We've got some good Helldivers news coming later on the podcast, so stay tuned for that. However, let's get on to the next piece of exciting gaming news. Next up, we've got some news on a game which generated a lot of interest because it was kind of painting itself as a modern day Dino Crisis, or a kind of spiritual successor to Dino Crisis. And it's this game called Code Violet. And it's now officially gone gold, and the game has been delayed until January 2026. The development team behind this released a huge post on X, which, I mean, I'm not going to read all this out. There's just so much here. They did say, though, one thing that is really cool is that all the perks and unlock entitlements that the game's deluxe edition had and pre-order editions will now all come in the standard edition. Supposedly that's one of the reasons for the delays here, is that they're having a problem working with Sony and the PlayStation Store for unlocking elements of the games, different versions. So that means the standard version will include all bonus outfits, items, and perks. And any who had pre-ordered the deluxe editions, they'll be getting their money back. Sounds interesting. Good update if you're interested in this game and you've bought it or plan on buying it. My reservations start when I watch the gameplay trailers, though. It looks like these kind of games that you see be announced a lot, and you're like, I'm not sure about this. Something looks off. I want it to be good because who doesn't want a new Dino Crisis type game? However, you just get the kind of vibe that this just something looks off. Is it like one of these kind of AI type games? I don't think the developers have made anything like this previously. And who doesn't want to shoot dinosaurs? You've got this Velociraptor we're seeing on screen just getting absolutely blazed with a handgun right in the face. I don't know. What do we think? Has this been on anyone's radar? Code Violet, is this the first you've heard of it? Or is this something you are interested in? Something just looks off to me. I don't know what it is. I cannot decide whether to be like, yep, this looks like it could be good, or this looks like one of these kind of bloatware, kind of trash games. You see tons of them on the PlayStation Store and the Switch Store and the Xbox Store and Steam. Fingers crossed it's good, but I'm not so sure. Capcom, please just give us a Dino Crisis remake. You've done it with the Resident Evil games. Why have you not done it with Dino Crisis? That would sell absolute truckloads of copies. Who wants a new Dino Crisis game? Sound off in the comments, people. Let me know. Let's send that message to Capcom. We got some exciting gameplay footage for Godslayer, which is a game which has been supported by Sony as part of this China Hero Project program, which Sony has, where they are helping support and fund developers over in China. And the game gives me strong vibes of Ninja Gaiden meets Avatar: The Last Airbender. It looks good. It looks good fun. The fights in the trailer are really good. There's a long gameplay trailer which Sony have posted on their PlayStation YouTube channel. One thing that is kind of strange about this, though, is it has been announced it's also coming to Xbox. So I don't know what's going on with that. I expect that going forward with all the kind of live service type games and, multiplayer games, it just makes sense. These games live or die on getting as many players playing them as they can. This, however, doesn't look like that. It's, an action RPG, and it was announced as part of Sony's China Hero Project, and it's targeting a 2027 release window, so we've got a long way to go. So who knows, maybe this will just be a timed exclusive on PlayStation, and then it will go to Xbox. The blurb for the game says it's an Eastern-inspired steampunk metropolis where gods known as Celestials reign with a divine fist. In this open-world RPG, you are an Elemancer who refuses to bow. Infused with elemental powers and a heart of vengeance, you will dethrone them all. You will rise to be the Godslayer. So yeah, looks pretty cool. The martial arts kind of style attacks in the combat here looks really good. The art style, the visuals are kind of interesting. Some of it gives me kind of PS4, PS3-ish kind of vibes. There was a bit a moment ago where a big water tank gets knocked over and brushes away our main protagonist and a bunch of bad guys, and it didn't look that good. However, other than that, I'm impressed, and this has got a long way to go, so this is early gameplay footage. 2027 is still a long way off. Is this new game, Godslayer, something that any of you are interested in and have on your radar? The one thing I do like about the combat, actually, is you see quite often where the character you're playing as just nails someone and sends them flying into like a wall or a fence or something, and the way it reacts and breaks, that is really, really cool. All the magic aspects as well integrated with the martial arts do look really good fun. So yeah, I think this one does look good fun. I will be interested to see how this all pans out when we inevitably get more. I'm pretty sure if this is part of the China Hero project, surely we are going to see some of this at a future Sony State of Play, or even maybe the Game Awards. We'll see a little bit more of it coming up next week. Who knows? It looks cool though. Another good game to look forward to heading our way in PlayStation on 2027. Now we're throwing it back to the old school with Old School Rally. I saw this. This has just launched on PlayStation the other day. I thought, oh, this looks right up my street, and I'm sure many of your street. Proper old school, like Colin McRae rally type vibes. I love the visuals in this. This looks like it's straight from the PlayStation 1. And it's funny how PlayStation 1 is now, it's like an art style. You know, that's what these games are aiming for. I mean, the old Ford Focus there, I'm pretty sure it doesn't have the actual names, but you've got like the cars, it looks like the Mitsubishi Evo, you've got your Toyota Celica, you've got your Ford Focus. All these classic rally cars are in here. Was that the Lancia? Just so many. Oh yeah, they've got different names there. However, very, very cool. And it looks like a lot of fun. Cheap, cheerful indie game to check out. So the game is featuring 32 cars, 24 stages across 10 countries, and 28 rally events. Old School Rally is now available on PS4 and PS5. I think this game also will just shine on the Portal. I've said this so many times in a lot of my Portal videos where we discuss the older games when they come to PS Plus, or if I've done like a best PS1 games to play on Portal video. PlayStation 1 games do not look good blown up on the big screen. This obviously is different. It's a modern day game meant to look kind of PS1-ish, so it will look better and run better. However, it will still just look even better on the small screen of the Portal. So I think this one's well worth checking out if you're a fan of old kind of retro style games or these retro arcade games. There's just a charm about them, something pure and simple. Not like a lot of games nowadays, which are mega complex with so many settings you need to tweak, tweak the suspension, the engine power, do this, do that. Just get behind the car, pick the car that you like the look of or has the stats you want, and then just tear it up around the track. I definitely want to check this game out. Do you like these kind of style of games where it is a modern game trying to look like an old game, or is that something that doesn't interest you? Because I'm pretty sure for a certain generation of you, this will, appeal to you. You'll think, hey, this looks good. This floats my boat. And a lot of you will say, nah, don't like that. I'm just all about, the big, modern AAA visuals and all that kind of stuff in the newer games. Both are valid. I'm just curious to see what the audience here who are watching this and listening to this, what they think about this, because I think this is pretty freaking cool. Speaking of older games, are they actually better for you than modern games? Let's discuss. So one of my best mates sent me this, and it's really, really interesting. A psychologist explained why 90s kids think differently than Gen Z. The games you played as a kid literally rewired your brain. Here's what changed and why it matters more than anyone realizes. So the one that my mate sent me was actually on a different page, but I found this one which has some verified sources for all this information, because I thought someone just typed this up, just to generate some rage bait and get people commenting on it. But supposedly it's a real thing. Whether that's true or not, actually, I don't think matters, because the themes and what they propose in these posts, I kind of agree with a lot of it. So let's go through them. The first one says, he said something shocking. So I'm assuming this is the psychologist or doctor or researcher who wrote this. 90s kids didn't just play games, their brains were trained by them. Mario, Sonic, Prince of Persia. 3 lives, no hints, no tutorials. Failure wasn't optional, it was part of the game. What they're trying to say is, you get a set amount of lives and then you die. That's what it is. So it's part of the game, where instead of just, continual replays and retries, you were probably back to square one, which was frustrating if you did grow up in the 90s like I did. So we've got here, you learned patience, you learned planning, you learned how to tolerate frustration. You didn't learn how to read though, apparently, which I'm struggling with here. You lose, you restart, you die, you try again, you fail, you figure it out. Those circuits still live in your brain today. I kind of get that. Modern games, auto-save every 10 seconds, step-by-step guidance, endless checkpoints, no failure mode. Kids today aren't forced to build the same mental muscles. The game removes the struggle before they ever feel it. Then he said something even crazier. 90s games strengthened the hippocampus, the part of the brain for memory and navigation. Tetris, Doom, Quake, and Zelda. No maps, no glowing lines, no GPS arrows. You memorized rooms, puzzles, patterns, and shortcuts. Your brain literally bulked up. If that's true, it's really interesting. I do get it though. Back in the day, you had to properly explore. I remember you'd be stuck at certain parts in games for days, until maybe one of your mates showed you how to do it because they'd completed it, or maybe there was a magazine with a guide that came out that month you were lucky enough to pick up. It wasn't just like nowadays. I guess everyone just goes on to YouTube tutorials and just watches how to do it, and then away they go. Challenge over. Interesting stuff there. Also, I'm curious, who played any of these back in the day? I played Tetris. I had Tetris on my Game Boy. Doom. I had Doom on my PC. I had Doom, and I loved it. And I was thinking Quake. I had Doom, and I had Quake, and I had Quake 3 Arena. I loved Quake 3 Arena. I never played Zelda as a kid. My first Zelda I played was Breath of the Wild. Fantastic game. But yeah, that was my first exposure to Zelda. Today's games do the thinking for you. Arrows show the path. Voice assistants tell you what to do. Quests explain every step. Kids follow instructions instead of creating solutions. They don't navigate, they comply. It's super interesting that, and just take this thing out of it about saying, it's kids do this. We all do this now. We all play modern games. It is different. Like, old school games, some of them were brutal, like really brutal. Even if you go back further, some of the game, I just think some of the like side-scrolling shooters I used to play as a kid on my Master System, what was it called? R-Type. My God, it was tough as nails. Another game as well, I remember as a kid just thinking it was absolutely brutal, and you might laugh at this, but Echo the Dolphin. Jesus, Echo the Dolphin. I thought that was so tough as a kid. And the game built into my Master System. The reason I say Master System, that was the first console I ever got. The Sega Mega Drive and Genesis was already out at that point, but money's tight and stuff like that. The older consoles are still for sale. They're like the budget ones. So my family got me the Sega Master System 2, and it had a little kind of closed door to cover the cartridge bay, and that had built into it Alex the Kid in Miracle World or Miracle Land. Alex the Kid in Miracle World. Man, Alex the Kid was no joke as well. It was really, really tough. So 90s games ended. This is interesting. You lost, the game stopped. You won, the game stopped. Your brain learned closure. Today's games never end. Fortnite, Roblox, Genshin, Minecraft, infinite loops, infinite rewards, infinite dopamine. The result, kids don't know how to stop because the game never lets them. I do think there is something in this. I even take this from a different angle. Like, I think games like Fortnite are just destroying like the gaming like industry in general. So much money and time and attention gets hoovered up into this constantly same experience, and it's causing gamers of all ages to miss out on like different bespoke experiences. Like, I could talk about so many different games playing back as a kid because you played a game. It was an unbelievable story, experience, journey, adventure, and then it was done and you're on to the next one and you have another one. Where some kids nowadays will grow up and all they've ever played is like Fortnite or, you know, Roblox or whatever, or Minecraft, and it's just like, it's just the same thing. It's mad. Like, I think back to other generations where they've, you know, played through, you know, even maybe multiple consoles and different games growing up versus nowadays. Some people, it'll just be like Fortnite all the time. It is kind of wild. Each to their own though. I'm not preaching here. Everyone can do what they want to do, but yeah, I do think there's something in this. Next up, a parent told the psychologist, "My son doesn't end the game ends him." Very interesting statement. It sounds a bit fake, that doesn't it? But I get what they're getting at there. 90s kids choose when to stop. Choose when to stop, sorry. Told you we can't read. Gen Z is captured by the design. I do get that. And remember this, gaming was social, real social, 100%. This is definitely missed in this day and age. You sat on the same couch, you shared controllers. Who remembers passing the controller back and forth with their friends, having a go? Like, if it was racing, you do this race, I'll do the next race. Like if you were playing through an adventure game, it's like, right, you try now and see how far you get, and if you get stuck or die, pass it to your friend, and then they try and go through the level, and you'd hope, you know, they would die because you'd seen their mistakes, and you'd be like, right, I've got this. You argued, you laughed, you passed levels together. Even like co-op games, think back to like stuff like the N64 or the PS1 and 2 with the multi-tap, playing, you know, split screen games. It was just amazing. Offline connection, real bonding, and real community. Now kids play alone, headsets, screens, avatars, surrounded by thousands, yet connected to no one. Psychologists are seeing higher loneliness in kids who only play online games compared to those who play side by side in person. That's really interesting. I am no medical expert, but I agree how this could be the case. I get this. I understand this. I think this could be real. 90s games taught delayed reward, waiting weeks for a cheat code. Oh yeah. Months for a new game. I think that's one of the biggest things. Like, the people say there's no games. I see this all the time. Oh, there's no games. There's no games on this console. There's no games here. Blah, blah, blah. That's absolute garbage. There's so many games. There's games coming out your freaking eyeballs, man. Literally, back in the day, you'd save up. Games were expensive. They're expensive now, but they were back then as well. You'd get the game you wanted, you know, if you're lucky enough to be bought it, or, you know, you got it birthday or Christmas, and then you'd play that game, you like, into the ground. You'd play it non-stop. That's why demo discs were amazing back in the day as well, because for a much cheaper price, you'd get a demo disc. It'd maybe have, you know, 6 or 8 games on it. You'd play those demos back to back. The PlayStation 1 demo disc, which came with the PS1, Demo 1 it was called, I played that so freaking much. Like, literally, I need to do a nostalgia video. Maybe I'll do that for Christmas or something. I don't know. Get that, get my hands on it, play that, and literally, like, Ridge Racer Revolution, Wipeout 2097, Crash Bandicoot, Tekken 2, like, it is just ingrained in my brain. Absolutely loved it. And because of that, you actually really got into a game and enjoyed it and appreciated. A lot of these games are like pieces of art, man. Whereas nowadays, there's so think about something like Game Pass or PS Plus. There's literally hundreds of games at your fingertips. Play it for 5 minutes. You might get bored, jump into something else. you might be playing a game and enjoying it, but a new game gets announced onto the service. Ditch this game, onto the next one. A lot of people don't complete them and go through the full journey and get the full, benefit and experience. Whereas I remember as a kid, even if you got, quite often you would, you're begging your parents for a game, you would get even just the cheapest one going, and it's usually a cheap game because it was rubbish, and you would still love it. You would just play it so much. Whereas now it's just constant. You're spoilt for choice. It's like what do they call it? When you have decision paralysis. Sometimes I go onto these services and go, what will I play? And then I just look for games, and then I go, I can't be bothered playing anything now, and then I bail out. So I do understand this. It says here, today, dopamine hits every minute. Oh, they're going a different route here. Skins, loot boxes, daily rewards, upgrades. Yeah. Imagine a gaming world where, what was the first in-game microtransaction? Was it not that horse in Elder Scrolls? Imagine that never happened and we didn't have like in-game purchases. Games. Remember when games, for example, I love fighting games. I suck at them, but I love playing them. I just find them great fun, right? I usually like playing through arcade modes and seeing the stories and all that. Just button bashing my way to the top. But back in the day, you used to have to like complete the arcade mode with, say it was like Tekken or something, with multiple different characters to unlock all the characters on the roster. Now, no. We'll sell you that as a DLC pack. Why? Just give me it in the full game. Not everything needs to be a forever game. That's, I think, another symptom of the forever game. They try and keep games which are not designed to be forever games, like fighting games, keeping them going for multiple years by releasing staged and staggered DLCs. It's like, just give us the full game when we pay for it and allow us to play it and unlock it. The post goes on, the nervous system adapts to fast pleasure and real life feels painfully slow. I do get how that could happen if you've, been brought up with constant stimulation, and then maybe thinking the real world feels a bit like that. Does anyone who watched feel like that? Is there any really young people watching this that can, shed some light on it? The psychologist said 90s kids became patient. Today's kids become overstimulated by the age of 10. Modern games aren't entertainment, they're engineered stimulation systems. So I get this statement. I do. However, I don't think, games are just as guilty as this. Think about it's still like the TikTok generation, Instagram Reels, all this kind of stuff. It is just like brain rot. It is just designed to keep you focused and swiping and give you that little dopamine hit, and then away you go. I don't have any of them on my phone. Like this, I'm on Instagram here on a desktop. I don't have any of these social medias on my phone because I just find them such a time sink, and I never come off them feeling better. Whereas I genuinely would rather, instead of sitting on the sofa doom scrolling, I'd rather like do what I'm doing now, where if I have downtime and none of my family's about, I'll play my games. I'm playing Final Fantasy VII Remake right now, and I'm absolutely loving it. I'd rather do that and go on an adventure, or go and work out, or spend time with my family than doom scroll or make content for all you guys. It's like, it's just holding you back from actually doing what you want to do with your life. Seriously, just bin it. It's not worth it. It then says, this is why Gen Z has the shortest attention span ever recorded. Wow, is that true? Not because they're weaker, because their environment is stronger than their biology. Well, if everything's engineered to try and manipulate you to, expect and anticipate instant, constant gratification and, dopamine hits, it would happen to anybody being brought up in that environment. Disclaimer, this content is for educational purposes only, not clinical diagnosis. Gaming affects each child differently, and ADHD, attention issues, or emotional changes may have multiple causes. If you are concerned about your child's behaviour or mental health, consult a licensed psychologist or paediatric specialist for guidance. So yeah, I'm glad my mate sent me this because it's a really interesting one, and I really just want to get all of you watching, hear all of your opinions of this, because I don't think this is the only thing that's maybe causing some of these issues that, as you know, are detailed in this post. I think it's just the environment in general with tech. You know, I mean, when I grew up as well, playing games, for example, your console and stuff like that, that was just part of it. You know, I didn't have a mobile phone that was constantly connected to the world, beaming right to your hand all the world's problems of everything wrong going on in the world. You know, um, it was just a different time as well. You know, you'd go out on your bike, play with your pals out, you know, have an adventure, build a den somewhere. You're out for hours. Parents would just tell you to come back, you know, when it got dark or when the streetlights come on. You'd do that. You know, you didn't have a mobile phone to know where all your friends were constantly. You'd know where your pals were because you'd see all the bikes lying in the driveway outside someone's house. It's just a different time, man. But this stuff is interesting with the games, how it might be training your brain, you know, different pathways to look at problems and things differently. And I do get this. Like, I think some of like the older, I say older school gamers are just some of the best. Like my brother, who's older than me, he's just brilliant at gaming, and he grew up playing games older than what I played. You know, I used to look up to him, going like, man, he's so good at video games. So yeah, let me know your opinions on this. Could be a bit of a hot topic, bit controversial. Some of you may or may not agree, but it'll be really good to know because I know a lot of you out there watching have kids as well. You're all part of the PlayStation Portal Dad Station team. That's why we love our PlayStation Portal. So the kids can be watching something on the TV and we can be like, yes, playing Final Fantasy on my Portal. So let me know what you think about this. It's a very interesting thing. This, no glowing lines, there's been a whole topic, you know, blow up online as well about the yellow paint being in games for showing you where to go and stuff like that. Whereas back in the day in a lot of games, you didn't have anything, you just had to explore. So it will be really cool to see if any of this you agree with and any of this you don't agree with. Let's have a great, friendly, helpful discussion in the chat. This is not to, you know, demonize any group of people. This is just something I thought was really interesting and worth flagging up because who knows, it might make you think differently about how you play games, or maybe your parent and maybe how your kids play games. So knowledge is power, people. I just wanted to bring this to you all and give you all a little bit more power. Now let's talk about a few stories about games going to the big screen and the small screen. I'm over at deadline here with God of War now getting its director as the director of Shogun, and The Boys joins the God of War TV series as casting gets underway. So according to Deadline, Frederick E.O. Toy has been hired to direct the first 2 episodes of the TV series, which is set to follow the Norse mythology storyline from the more recent God of War games. Toy has directed episodes in many highly acclaimed TV shows, including The Boys, Fallout. Hell yeah! This is also on Amazon, so see if this is anything like Fallout. Oh, fingers crossed, because Fallout was how you do a video game TV show, right? So I'm already hyped for this. Fingers crossed this goes good. He's also directed episodes of The Walking Dead, The Good Wife. By the way, The Good Wife's a great show as well. Good lawyer show that. And Shogun, which he won an Emmy Award. Awesome. There we go. So that seems really, really good. We've got Ronald D. Moore, who is going to be the showrunner. He has got previous credits, which include Outlander, For All Mankind. Oh, For All Mankind is on Apple TV. It's absolutely amazing. I love that show. Check it out, people. And another one I know a lot of you will love, Battlestar Galactica. So pre-production and casting is underway, with filming due to start in March 2026. Big part of the show, though, is going to be who is cast as Kratos. Who's that going to be? You know, it's always going to be scrutinized when it's a main character like this from a video game being cast in live action. We saw all the, I guess, internet flipping out when we had the casting for the new Lara Croft show, which is also coming to Amazon. And let's see if this goes the same way. Hopefully, maybe a more positive reaction. Who would we like to see playing I mean, this is a bit of a legendary role at this point. I actually think maybe somebody like Dave Bautista could do a good job at this. What do we think? Would that be a yay or an A? I know we all want him to play Marcus Phoenix in Gears of War if they ever get their butts in gear and make a Gears of War TV show or movie. However, I think he would be really good at this as well because he's got the acting chops. He's actually a good actor as well. You know, it's not like The Rock, who just always plays The Rock. And that's no shade at The Rock, but that's all he ever does, really. I've not seen his new one, though. What is it? Smashing Machine it's called or something like that? Where he plays the UFC fighter. Mark Kerr, isn't it? I want to check that one out because I'm a big UFC fan, but I've not seen that yet. Supposedly, you know, he's obviously a bit different in that one. However, this is a big role. Who is going to play Kratos? Oh, that is the question. Let me know your dream cast. We spoke about Helldivers earlier on because we were discussing how it is massively influenced by Starship Troopers. Helldivers 2 and Starship Troopers are pretty much the same thing. Like, literally down to the satire, the enemies, the bugs, just the chat in it, everything. It's so freaking good, though. I love both of them. Helldivers is now getting its own movie, though. So that is cool because it's basically probably going to be like Starship Troopers, which is a great movie. Well, the first one is anyway. That's the only one I've seen. I heard the other ones are pretty rubbish. Fingers crossed this one's good, but they've got their new director, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm not so sure. And it's Justin Lin who has directed, you know, the Fast and the Furious movies. So how is this going to pan out? This is an interesting appointment. Hopefully it is good. So I mean, a few of the Fast and the Furious movies are good. The last one was terrible. It was like one of the worst movies ever. But, you know, a few before that are pretty good. Good fun. So hopefully they capture, you know, some good fun in Helldivers, the movie. The script is going to be written by horror movie veteran Gary Doberman. He is best known for writing screenplays for It and Annabelle. So that's very interesting. We don't know much about the plot itself. However, you can pretty much guarantee it's going to be very similar to Starship Troopers. I'm expecting a lot of action here, especially with Justin Lin involved. Comedy, you expect that because, I mean, Helldivers, it is funny, you know, spreading managed democracy about the universe. However, with Doberman being involved as well, or Dauberman, that does make me think there's maybe going to be some horror elements in here. And like Starship Troopers, for how funny it is and satire and everything like that, it was pretty gory back in the day. Like you were seeing people being ripped to bits by these bugs. So that makes me think we're going to get something like that for Helldivers. Maybe it will take it a notch further and it will be a bit more on the horror side of things. Interesting, it is going to be produced as you expect by Sony Pictures Entertainment and PlayStation subsidiary PlayStation Productions overseeing the project. I'm excited about this one because I'm really excited by anything Helldivers 2 because I think it's a great game and a great franchise. One thing that does concern me though is, so Justin Lin, he's supposedly said he's not a gamer and he's apparently, you know, making a point of this. And according to Hollywood Reporter, his goal is to flesh out the overall fiction and franchise and find the humanity in the characters, which I guess you want to do because in Helldivers 2, all the characters are kind of, you know, they're kind of nameless nobodies. You don't really know anyone. And he does already have a relationship with PlayStation, or with Sony, I guess you could say, as he was hired to direct the live action adaptation of anime One Punch Man. No word on when this will be arriving in the cinemas. However, I'm excited about this one. This, I think, will be a better fit for being a movie than, you know, we had the Gran Turismo movie. I was still surprised that Gran Turismo was the first franchise that Sony and PlayStation Pictures went after to turn into a live action movie. So many other ones, there would be a better fit. I also do wonder would this be better as a series? You know, God of War is going to be a series. I I prefer getting TV series now than movies because you get more time with the franchise and with the characters, because you get like an 8-part TV series, each an hour long, so you get 8 hours versus like a 2-hour movie. So maybe Helldivers would be good going down that route. You know, we've got Horizon as well, so Forbidden West or Zero Dawn, that's also going to be getting a TV show or a movie. So lots happening in the PlayStation universe going to live action. If you don't want to wait for a live action Helldivers movie though, you know, it might be too long, or you're not a fan of Justin Lin, we have got this unbelievable fan-made Helldivers 2 movie, which is available to watch for everyone right now on YouTube. I don't know why this hasn't got more press. I kind of, you know, looked about and none of the big like news outlets had really covered it. I don't know why, so I thought, I'm going to cover it here. We need to get the spotlight on these people because this is freaking awesome. I've not watched it all yet. I am going to watch it all. However, it is great fun so far, what I've seen. I love when you get fan-made things. They're just made with such care, attention, and detail. And it just reminds me like when I first saw Warhammer 40k Astartes. I was just like, what? I mean, that was just unbelievable. This reminds me kind of like this, but this is a 52-minute long movie, and it is called For Liberty, a Helldivers film. They also say at the start of this, there's no like AI slop here. They've made all this, you know, using like the various tools like the graphics engines and stuff like that, and it's all been voiced over by real people. And it is on a channel called Plot Coalition. So it's got 85,000 thumbs up right now, and it's been viewed 652,000 times. So this is pretty good, people. Well worth going to check out. I will leave a link down below in the description so you can go and check this out for yourself. It is just fantastic fun to see someone go and do this off their own back, you know, for the love of the game. And it's really entertaining. I think you'll all really enjoy it. I would like to see more things like this happen. You know, as I say, I just feel fans bring a different level of passion and care to these projects than, you know, just someone who's maybe hired and is not really interested in it. It's just a job. You know, they're just delivering what they've been hired to do, versus this is for the love of the game. And if you're a Helldivers 2 fan, go and check this out. You will not be disappointed. The Helldivers 2 live action movie has got a lot to live up to because we've now got this amazing fan-made game. I mean, For Liberty, this must have taken them absolutely ages to make this because it is just fantastic. The action in it, the banter, what I've seen so far has been top notch. I can't wait to have a little bit of time to myself to chill out and just sit and watch this full thing. If you're a big fan of Helldivers, this is a must watch for absolutely all of you. And even if you're not, you just want something entertaining to chill out and watch, you know, action, you know, humans going up against big, crazy, you know, scary looking bugs. It ticks the box. So thank you for watching episode number 9 of the Gaming Coffee Club podcast. We are available to be viewed on Spotify and on YouTube, and you can listen to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Make sure you drop us a follow, leave us a rating if you enjoy this. Every single week, we bring you the biggest gaming news across the PlayStation world with a sprinkle of all the other stuff on top, all chilled out with a nice bit of caffeine. My coffee is done now because I've been talking for well over an hour and I need to go and get my dinner. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all next week, which will be episode number 10. Big milestone. I'm hyped. Who knows what the gaming world will have for us then. One thing I know it will have is we will know what's happened at the Game Awards. So we'll discuss all the winners and losers there and whatever else has been going on. So thank you very much for tuning in. Leave the video a thumbs up if you're on YouTube, and I will see you next week for more Gaming Coffee Club fun.